church in Manila is the cradle of the Lord's recovery in the Philippines. Many churches in Metro Manila have since been propagated from Manila. Although the administration of each locality is independent, yet the fellowship of the body in the Spirit is one, receiving in one accord the teaching of the apostles and the leading of the ministry. The church in Manila was raised up over 70 years ago, beginning in 1930 when Brother Huang He-sheng returned to mainland China and contacted the flow of the Lord's recovery in Fujian province. He came to know the brothers the Lord had raised up and got enlightened to see that denominations are condemned by God. He and his wife were then baptized. They resolved to leave the denominations, and together with some saints who followed them, they were sanctified and began to meet at Nueva Street. The first turning point of the church was in June of 1937, when Brother Watchman Nee passed by Manila on his way to England. He was invited to hold a conference. The messages he spoke were concerning the overcoming life of Christians. In his fellowship, he recommended Brother Witness Lee, referring to him as a brother who has a bright future. Only then did the saints start to know and admire Brother Lee. Before the start of World War II, they invited him to come and help, but before he could even process his travel papers, war broke out, so his coming was delayed. In 1940, the Philippines fell into the hands of the Japanese Imperial Army. The church was prevented from having meetings. Nevertheless, the church still prayed in one accord and was eventually led by the Lord through this dark period of trial. In 1950, the church experienced yet another turning point. At the end of the same year, the Lord sent Brother Witness Lee to Manila and gave the church timely help and supply, leading the church to enter into the flow of his recovery. His visit brought blessing to the church. Many saints were added, bringing vitality to the church. During his visit, the co-workers, elders, and deacons asked Brother Lee to help the church move onward. When asked whether they wanted him to help as a guest speaker or to take the lead, the co-workers, the elders, and the deacons signified their willingness to hand themselves over for Brother Lee to take the lead. Around 1951, after Brother Lee stepped forward to lead the church dropped the name Christian Gospel Center and started to meet upon the local ground as the church in Manila. In April of 1961, Brother Lee led a group of young people to Baguio for a training. There, they experienced the outpouring of the Spirit. Even as they sang, "Spring up well with water," the Spirit greatly poured out Himself upon the saints. While the believers upon the mountain were experiencing the outpouring of the Spirit, a storm blew upon the church. While the Spirit was burning on the mountain, rebellious elements were brewing below. A few ambitious people, who were envious of the church leadership, often gathered secretly and unscrupulously slandered Brother Lee, distributing flyers containing the words, "Bring down the 4 elders and drive away Witness Lee." The 4 elders then wrote a letter to Brother Wei Kwangsi, a former classmate of Brother Watchman Nee, who was then a leading co-worker in Hong Kong, to come to Manila and help. Brother Wei came and fellowshiped with the opposing co-workers and pointed out their mistakes. At the same time, he ministered the word in various kinds of meetings. Unfortunately, the opposers rejected him. On August 22 of the same year, the opposers caused PC soldiers to be deployed and to occupy the meeting hall, barring the entrance of the elders and of any brother or sister, effectively suspending the church meeting. On August 24, the pure lovers of the Lord rented the meeting hall. Brother Wei ministered the word during the meetings, reckoning their being expelled from the meeting hall as the Lord's sanctifying work. The meeting was filled with the Lord's presence and with the release of the Spirit. The fear and unrest as a consequence of the incident eventually dissipated,